Good morning. I am really passionate about the new series that we will be embarking on today. And it is based on a book entitled See No Stranger, a memoir and a manifesto to revolutionary love. And that book has been written by the beautiful soul you see before you on the screen. And her name is Valerie Carr. Valerie is an incredible woman. Not only does she have degrees in divinity and is a spiritual teacher, she is also a civil rights lawyer and a social activist. I'd like to begin by sharing just two stories of her that she has shared in her book, in her interviews, concerning experiences of hate that she has endured. My first encounter with hate was in the schoolyard. I was a little girl growing up in California, where my family had lived and farmed for a century. When I was told I would go to hell because I was not Christian, called a black dog because I was not white, I ran to the arms of my grandfather. Papa G dried my tears and always gave me the words of Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh faith. I would hear the words, I see no stranger, I see no enemy. Oh, my grandfather taught me that I could choose to see all the faces I meet and wonder about them. And if I wonder about them, then I will listen to their stories, even when it is hard. I will refuse to hate them, even when they hate me. I will even vow to protect them when they are in harm's way. That's what it means to be a Sikh, spelled Sikh, to walk the path of a warrior saint. Fast forward, I'm 20 years old watching the Twin Towers fall, and the horror struck in my throat, and then a face flashes on the screen. A brown man with a turban and beard, and I realize that our nation's new enemy looks just like my grandfather. And these turbans, meant to represent our commitment to serve, now cast us as terrorists. And Sikhs began to be targets of hate alongside our Muslim brothers and sisters. The first person killed in a hate crime after September 11th was a Sikh man standing in front of his gas station in Arizona. Balbar Singh Sodhi was a family friend I called uncle. He was murdered by a man who called himself an American patriot. He is, my uncle, was the first to have been killed. But his story, our stories barely made the evening news. I didn't know what to do, but I had a camera. I faced the fire and I went to visit his widow, Jungadir Kaur. Oh, I wept with her and I asked her, what would you like me to tell the people of America? I was expecting blame, but she looked at me and said, tell them thank you. Thank you. 3,000 Americans came to my husband's memorial. They did not know me, but they wept with me. Tell them thank you. Thousands of people showed up because, unlike national news, the local media told my uncle's story. Stories can create the wonder that turns strangers into our brothers and sisters. My friends, I am filled with deep emotion as I share just a few of those stories that Valerie, her family, the people of the Sikh faith, Muslims, so on and so on have endured. I am filled with deep sadness, frustration, anger, and disbelief that in this day and age in America and around the world, that people still have such a capacity to denigrate, to hate, to oppress, to violate, to abuse, and to kill people and groups of people just because of their skin color, of their religion, of their gender, or perhaps their sexual orientation, or their ableism. And these emotions that I feel, and perhaps many of you feel them too, are a sign that we haven't completely been anesthetized, been numb to it all, and falsely believing, well, as we numb ourselves out, there's nothing I can do. Well, it's just the way things are. Or falsely believing that my feelings that rise, or my sentiments, or prayers are the only thing I have to offer, or that we have to offer. My friends, I believe that we are being called to embody the Sikh teaching, the practice, see no stranger, see no enemy, in courageous and expansive ways. And this practice is not unique to the Sikh tradition. No, it has been taught through the ages across all religions by masters, mystics, prophets. Jesus called us to love your enemy, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you. In the Old Testament, Abraham called the people to open their tents to all. Muhammad called to the Muslims to take in the orphans. And Mirabai, a 16th century Hindu prophet poet, called us to love without limits. And the Dalai Lama, Tibetan Buddhist, calls us to see our enemies as our sacred friends. These mystics and masters throughout the centuries, across all religions, embodied this teaching of seeing no stranger, no enemy, in bold ways, despite their own persecution. And even though they have been taught in most faith traditions, I think we have fallen short of fully living and embodying them as they were taught. Perhaps we are fearful. Perhaps we are so overwhelmed with our own lives. And we can go on, and each one of us can maybe be called to do some soul searching, or be willing to be called into see no stranger, as Valerie Carr outlines in her book, See No Stranger, a memoir and a manifesto of revolutionary love. See, this is no small task in our world today when our nation is gripped by a pandemic that plagues our bodies, where division and polarization is at an all-time high. And hate crimes are also at an all-time high. The Asian population are experiencing hate crimes that have gone up exponentially. And they are tracing that back because the leaders of our own nation have labeled our pandemic the Kung flu plague, the China virus, and so on and so on. So let us take a deep breath and let us be willing to the call to revolutionary love, as Valerie teaches in her book. Before I go over her definition of revolutionary love, what I would like us to do is to look at the word love itself. We know it is one of our 12 spiritual powers, and we already know that it is more than a sentiment. It is the harmonizing power. It is at our deepest level when we are aligned in our higher consciousness, instead of our ego, to align our thoughts, our words, our actions, and to be called forth to our highest in all situations, which is not an easy task. But all too often in society, the word love is merely seen as a sentiment, a feeling, a feel-good endorphin that we experience when we are intimate with another. Love, my friends, is more than a passive sentiment. It is an act of labor. Just as we women and labor in a childbirth, out of love of giving birth to most exquisite expression of life before us, all of us have labored for love, have made sacrifices for the people who are within our circle, our family members, when they are in need, when they are hurt, when they are suffering. But today we are being called to open our tent, as Abraham spoke. And we must be willing to labor for those who are considered the least amongst us, those, again, outside our circle, who are marginalized, who are hurt and suffering, those, which is not so easy, that we despise or disagree with, and who have caused us pain and suffering. So revolutionary love is the term that Valerie gives to the choice to enter into wonder and to labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. And she shares that loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. And loving only others is ineffective. All three practices together make love revolutionary. And revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. And so, my friends, over the next several weeks, we will be exploring these teachings that will help us, if we are willing, to embody this revolutionary love, to move us to embody, to see no stranger, to see no enemy. And the lessons within the book are divided into three main sections. What you see here before you on the screen is what, Valerie calls the revolutionary love compass. And it is a call to loving others, our opponents, and ourselves. And within each section, there are lessons that allow us to go deeper into the how-to, if we are willing and if we are courageous. And so as I close this morning, I will close with a quote about love that Valerie shares, and then I will take us into a short prayer. And Valerie shares, love calls us to look upon the face of those different from us as sisters and brothers. Love calls us to weep when their bodies are outcast, broken, or destroyed. And love calls us to speak even when our voice trembles, stand even when hate spins out of control, and stay even when the blood is fresh on the ground. Love makes us brave. And so, my friends, I ask you if you are willing, just willing to learn small and big ways in how you may learn how to see no stranger, to see no enemy, and to embody revolutionary love. If you are just willing, I invite you to write yes in the chat box. This is awesome. This is awesome. And so let our worlds be changed. Let us be revolutionaries for love. And I close with a prayer by Shanante Diva. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multiples of living beings. May I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. Blessings, my friends. I send you my heartfelt appreciation and love.